One of our basic goals at the San Antonio Police Officers Association is to protect your rights and the rights of your family.
It's been the topic of much debate. Proposition B, aimed at repealing the San Antonio Police Department's, the police union's right to collectively bargain with the city. It's something SAPD has been able to do since voters adopted that law back in 1974.
When you make yourself irrelevant, and you don't come up and you don't say things, right? And you kind of let it meander on its way. When it's time for you to say something, nobody's gonna want to listen to you. Don't pretend to be something that you're not. Go find somebody that's got the plaque on the wall, that's the expert, that knows how to do it. You go hire that dude, and you bring him in, and you tell him what you need, and you get that guy and you ride that horse to where it needs to go. Don't pretend like you're something that you're not.
Blu Wolf Podcast.
Welcome to the Blu Wolf Podcast. I'm Willie Cantu. I'm here with my partner here, David Sapansky. We're going to have another exciting podcast for you. It's kind of a lead up, or not a lead up, but a spin-off of the last two podcasts that we've done. The first one that you guys, it's out already. It's called The Police Brotherhood in Peril. Is out already, and then there's one that's about to hit before this one, but it definitely is a post podcast that derives from those two podcasts that we have there. And you know, lately we've had a lot of crazy things going on. Just driving over here today, learned that an ICE facility in Dallas, Texas, was shot at by an alleged sniper and killed two detainees. The information is preliminary right now, but no law enforcement were killed. It doesn't make it any better that they weren't killed or anything, but the detainees were killed, and then I believe one was injured. There's still more information coming out there. It's a crazy world. We had the assassination of Charlie Kirk recently, which really hit at least all the conservatives pretty hard, and we're still hearing about it. There's vigils and all kinds of displays of honor for Charlie Kirk because of the work that he did, and lots of infighting too on that side with people really speaking bad, really bad about him, and it's crazy times right now. But we're more concerned with, as you guys, if you've been following us, know that we're concerned with the health of San Antonio Police Department and its members. Obviously, that's where we came from, David and I, and our guest as well. He is a retired San Antonio Police detective, and I'll introduce him in a little bit, but we believe that this war on police is real. It's definitely been across the nation. It's not just in San Antonio, understandably, and but the things we can maybe try to do about it is here in our local San Antonio Police Department. We're the 7th largest city in Texas, or not Texas, in the United States, 2nd largest city in Texas, and we have a large police department. I've always said that San Antonio was the small town that refuses to grow up. It's getting bigger and bigger, but we just continue with these small town ways. That was pretty good for a while, but now we have to catch up, you know, and along with catching up is not just technology and tourism and stuff like that. A lot of it is just in the ways of general operations within the city, and we believe within the police department. So the officers, and as we know right now, because of this war on police, we're losing a lot of tenured officers. They're retiring pretty quickly, and anyone I speak to, they just can't wait to leave. They're looking at the numbers to see if they're good for their retirement, if they can live on that, or what else they can do to supplement that, or whatever. And then we just don't have an interest very much in law enforcement. Now, I mentioned this the last time, the feds do. I heard it again today. They have an overwhelming amount of applicants for federal jobs, Border Patrol, ICE, DEA, all those things, because the things have changed from the last administration. That is not just me, in my opinion. It's really obvious in what we see. The problem is here in San Antonio, we still have a blue city and a blue county. And these people just think that, you know, we'll do the same thing, even though we've already seen that it's not working. So whenever things occur within our own members that really shake up their lives, they cause them lots of grief, lots of stress on their lives because they lose their jobs a lot of times through political persecution. So we have a Soros spot DA, Joe Gonzalez, I believe, Dave and I have talked, I think I can speak for him as well, that our his administration is weak because they're not standing up to them. And what's left though? Who stands between the officers and the city and the chief? And we believe it's the San Antonio Police Officers Association. And I'm not going to rehash what I've said before necessarily, but as we talk today, you'll get to see what we both believe that is going on within the association. We don't believe they're stepping up for their officers, and that's been proven day by day by day. We get contacted by people all the time, and it's been proven day by day with that. But who better to bring on and to discuss these issues, these questions that we may have, than a former San Antonio Police Officers Association president, retired detective Mike Helle. Mike, welcome.
Thank you for
Thanks
having me.
for coming with us. I have to say, this is a reunion for us, right?
Yeah.
We all three graduated
89 Alpha.
From the San Antonio Police Academy, class of 89 Alpha. That's why we look old. So don't adjust your whatever device you're looking at us on. It's been what, 36 years, since we've been gone. Mike, how many years did you do with the San Antonio Police Department?
31.
31,
Yeah.
Okay. We were talking earlier, besides keeping bees, are you doing anything else? You doing consulting?
Believe it or not, yes, I get phone calls from other presidents across the state about things that are going on, and just bounce ideas off me. What do I think that they should do? And then they're going to decide on their own what they're going to do. But it's always good as a leader to always ask other opinions about, hey, I got a sticky situation I haven't really come up with. Have you encountered something like that? What would you do? That's kind of conversations, and they're nice to get those calls, and then you get to catch up on guys you haven't seen for a long time.
I mean, it's because I'm still somewhat involved. I'm doing consulting as well, but it's healthy for us.
Yeah.
You just can't just quit cold turkey and just forget it, put it behind you, as much as you try to.
Well, it took me about 2.5 years to decompress after I retired. Not because I was constantly getting calls, but your mind still is attached to the job. If you really care about it, you're constantly thinking about it. So when things are occurring, you're automatically in the mode of what would I do? What things should I do? And then, and I had to disassociate myself with that because we're all men of action, right? So if we see something where we want to take action, and if you don't see action, your anxiety goes up, like what come there's no action? So I really had to disconnect, kind of unplug from that. And
you have to think about it. It has to be conscious.
Yeah, and
it's a process, right? It doesn't happen quickly.
No, it doesn't, and that's why I said it took me over 2.5 years. And then it's funny, I get calls like you get calls from people, and then I find myself getting getting pulled back in.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Michael Carioni from the
They
pulled me right.
back.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. But
so you were the longest tenured SAPOA president in our history.
yeah, I was elected 5 times, served for 12 years. Some of those were pretty close elections. It was pretty close.
I voted for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's what put me over the top.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But yeah, so I have to say this. It wasn't just me. I had a great team. I really did. Now the team wasn't the same from when we started to when we finished, but I have to give credit to guys like Dean Fisher.
How long was he with you?
Dean was there with me the whole time.
The whole time, okay.
Yeah, until he left a little bit before our term was up. But then he retired. Then Mike Dupree was another one, and then Mike Dupree wasn't there from the beginning, but he came in I think midway. I think our second term. Mike was the first guy that I ran against for president, and I think we kind of joke about it. It's like 81 votes, Mike, and you could have been the guy. But it's funny
He
that
really wanted to be president.
Yeah,
I saw it before you. I mean, that guy tried. Do you remember?
It's interesting because Mike was a lieutenant, and traditionally we didn't have anybody at the mid-management level position like lieutenant or captain involved in the presidency.
Mike genuinely, he genuinely cares. Even in retirement, he's still involved. I got to give the guy credit because he still handles the complaints because he's on the retiree healthcare side.
That's right.
And the guy is in the trenches. But those were guys that I had backing me up, right? I never had to worry about them trying to subvert me or undermine me.
That's good because that can happen a lot.
And I never had to look behind me. I was always in front of me. And they were guys that I could rely on to give me a difference of opinion, right? We didn't always agree, but behind closed doors, they would tell me what their honest opinion was and what they thought about something, or whether or not I shouldn't or do it. And they'd be the guy to kind of pull me off the rafters. Like, I'd want to be,
That's important, right? What you led with was trust, right? You had trust in one another, and then that trust also moved over into they could give you a different opinion. It would be your decision to take it or not, but having that important, good counsel available was always probably important in your tenure, right?
No, that's like its weight in gold to have. But you have to be tempered enough to understand the way people are trying to tell you or give you advice, right? Because some people, maybe their message always isn't the right way something is said, and you get offended or you get mad because they're telling you what you don't want to hear. But I had the unique ability to understand the person, that what they were genuinely trying to tell me. They weren't trying to pick at me. They were genuinely trying in their own way to communicate to me about what they felt was right or wrong. And then I would have to take that into consideration. And some people I gave a lot of consideration to, some people I gave very little. But it was good to get that. Then I was able to kind of craft my own vision of what other people's things I need to be concerned about. And then really, we were very unique and good in being able to come out with a unified message that I think resonated with the rank and file. I think it did. You're still going to have people that don't like you for whatever reason, but there was a saying. Yeah, there's a saying. I went to a seminar one time, and the guy had used all these new police presidents, right? And it was probably one of the best conferences I've ever gone to. And the guy goes, "How many people are new?" Well, I'll raise their hand. And he goes, "How many people feel like they have to have 100% of the people behind them?" I'm like, some people raise their hand. How about 60%? And then he goes, "Well, let me tell you about a guy who had the most perfect message. And his name was Jesus Christ. And he never got 100% of the people."
That's true.
And actually they hung him, they stapled him, they nailed him to a cross for his vision and his ideas, right? So what he was trying to compare to is, don't beat yourself up if you can't get 100% of the guys. But he said, if you're 50.1%, then you're ahead of the game. And I was like, wow. I said, well, that's true.
Then he started doing the math.
That's
right.
true, but for me, that wasn't ever good enough, right? I mean, that means that almost half of the people don't like you or they're against you. So
You know why? Because you're a pessimist at heart. I mean, we almost all are in law enforcement. I mean, I would be the same way. Yeah, that sounds great. We're supposed to celebrate that victory, but no,
Yeah, you should want more, right? It's
well, what's
different
we
perspective,
yeah,
right?
we strive to get more. That was not good enough. I mean, that's my point. Was it was never good enough to just barely get that percentage to pass something or to get an agenda.
Well, you had a lot of room though to grow. I mean, if you were 100%, what else do you do?
Well,
You said something that was really important, though. You said the messaging, right? And messaging is different for different people. I mean, if you ever just read about it, it's not what, there's the messenger and then there's the sender and the receiver. Yeah. And sometimes those things, that's why arguments happen, right? Like, you're not listening to me, but I am trying to listen to you, but it's how that message is interpreted and how it's given. The fact that you just were able to say that you recognize that and work through some of those things is really huge in terms of how to be a successful leader. Yeah, I think that's very important.
It is very difficult because people are trying to tell you something in their own ways, right? And you could perceive it as something that's negative, but they're really trying to just communicate with you. And you have to differentiate between what they're trying to tell you underlying, and maybe when they're communicating to you, it doesn't always come out the perfect way, right? So you can't get offended all the time.
I think it's important to mention, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but in the end, we're all police officers. Mm-hmm. It's not like you guys just came on some executive board, didn't have the experience, because y'all work the streets. Yeah. Y'all went through stress, in your job and all that. Then you're trying to come back to some sort of office setting and discuss really politics, for the department and all that. So a lot of the egos get involved, the things that actually helped you on the street. Now you got to taper those back, I would say. I mean, because then you also know the history of some of these people as well, on the street.
So you're right. So and Mike doesn't mind me saying this because I've said the story before. Back when Mike was in office, the relationship between he and I was pretty bad, right? I mean, it was like kill or be killed kind of in the political theater, right? And then, and I really didn't know him really that well, other than this guy just really didn't like me very much, right? When he was under a different administration. But as I put my biases aside and I saw Mike for what he was trying to do. And that guy genuinely cares about what happens to the rank and file. I mean, you're right, but lieutenant is pretty rare, right? When you get to that point, they're kind of like, hey, if I get involved with the police union, I'm going to be bookshelved and dead.
Well, mainly because the rank and file sees you differently, right? Once you become lieutenant, they see you differently.
Most definitely. And Mike and I are the best of friends today. I mean, when we forged a relationship out of fire, and I think we understand each other very well. And he's a very capable leader, and I was lucky to have him. And I still use his every once in a while. I'll use his his thought processes and what he goes through about to help me even still continue to grow today, because I'd write an email and I'd be like, okay, Mike, look at this. And he'd go, oh, no, you can't say that. let's change this word. If you want a yin and yang, we were those kind of guys. And when Mike was it was his turn to be the yang guy, I would be the yin guy, and we kind of pull each other down. The same thing with Dean Fisher,
it's complimentary, right?
Yeah, and as I said, you had to understand. People probably don't believe me, think it's kind of corny, but when I spoke at in-service, or even talking to you guys right now, it's coming from a place of love. It's from my heart. It really is.
Yeah, it's not corny.
Because I genuinely cared, right? Yeah, maybe that was my only downfall, is that maybe I cared too much because I was constantly thinking about it 24/7. Like my wife, we'd be driving in a car and I'd be thinking about the problem and what I got to deal. And my wife just told me all of her problems for the day, right? And she goes, "What do you think, honey?" And I didn't hear a word of it. And it was right next to me.
That happens the other way around too. Sometimes we're talking and then
but it's my wife was I was lucky to have her to understand what I was going through. She was a good counsel to me when I would write articles or I would do things, or she could tell that my brain is like just grinding, right? And I would not let it go. I just was that type of person that I would be grinding it down to try to figure out a solution to whatever the problem was, nonstop.
And the problems never stop.
No, and they don't. And managing that buffer can be challenging. And there were some times where you could feel like you get overwhelmed, right? And you have to triage it.
Yeah, for sure.
And learn to delegate. That was one of the main things, is learn to give people projects and let them kind of manage it without you micromanaging the hell out of them.
And trusting them.
You have to trust them to do the right thing. And I'm going to tell you, from the Labor Relations Committee, from Arthur Lindley and Michael Carter, those guys did a phenomenal job for the police union. We were in every aspect of the police department. You got to think about it. What other police union in the United States is involved in the radio systems that we use, the cars that we drive, to the brakes, what kind of caliper brakes you're going to put on your cars, to the computer systems, to the report writing systems, to your body armor, to the type of ammunition, to the type of pistols. every aspect of the department, besides the rules and regs, those things we were involved in intricately. But that's the only way that you can be successful and really watch out for your guys, is if you are part of that, or involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no skating, because
Would you agree that makes it a healthier police department? Like
most definitely.
because the people out on the streets get a say, right, through the labor relations, the representatives, on what the best avenues and tools are for them.
Well, imagine if you weren't. Okay, so imagine the complaints you would be like. So imagine you just turn off the switch and you weren't there anymore. Imagine the complaints you would get as a police union president or even a director if we weren't involved in the body armor and some dude unfortunately got hit and the body armor didn't do its job, right? It went right through him. He goes, well, did y'all test it? Well, I don't know. He goes, well, what, did you test it before? Yeah. He goes, well, why didn't y'all test it this time? Why did you just go low bid? And because that's what the city will do. We'll have 10 things. What's the cheapest? That's what you're going to get.
Sure, it's all about money.
Yeah, it's all about
Yeah.
money. And unless you're in there to make sure that you're not getting some cheap item from China, right, that's a knockoff, you have
There
to make
wasn't
sure.
Timo back then.
No, yeah, we didn't have that.
We probably would. Fair to say you can make that same argument or assert the same things, that like it would be different if somebody flipped the switch and it was no longer, or the union was no longer involved in employee rights situations or speaking up, because I think we're at that point now. And I know I'm not moving gears, but I wanted to ask you, we had asked you before to come on and you had respectfully said no.
Yeah.
No, not at this time. And the last podcast we did, we were pretty assertive that, you know, the leadership at the SAPOA, an organization that all of us love dearly, it's not us talking down to some thing or an entity that so many people work so hard to build, but we have asserted, I have asserted, that the leader of that has not been doing what is expected of him in terms of representing the membership. So that switch you alluded to, just metaphorically, has been flipped. And so what do you say to that? You, the longest running president.
So, like you said, I had to disassociate myself from those things, because I would find myself, if I was there, what would I do, kind of thing, right? And you see missed opportunities when they're not being brought forward. Case in point, the crime throughout San Antonio.
It's a good case in point.
It is just ugly, right? It's bad.
Yeah.
You got, hopefully my car doesn't get broken into when I'm not here, but
see it. No,
but
I can take a shot from
it's
here.
terrible, right? But there's this facade that things are good, and this nothing to knock somebody's PhD that they have at a particular university that came up. They regurgitated an old idea because it's been done before. Remember, there used to be a restaurant over here. They used to park an old police car, an old Dodge car.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, because they thought if you just see cops, see a police car, then it'll make you slow down, and it won't make you do crime, right?
They do that at our kids' school. They were parking these old vehicles.
Yeah.
For active shooter, obviously. They parked them at my daughter's school, and it's an old Crown Vic. They don't drive them anymore. Even the kids know that.
Now, is it a frontline deterrent? Yes. Is it gonna, eventually you drive by it enough, you go like, hey, there's nobody even in that car.
Nothing.
They'll tint the windows
Yeah.
as if it's not even running.
Right. I guess my point on that is, like, fool me once, fine, but these crooks out here, they're not dumb. They know there's a car there with nobody in it.
I think the biggest scam is this hotspot initiative
Thanks for
that
saying
wherever the policemen are at that particular hotspot that they chose.
But we've
it's-
been doing that forever, right? They take
Yeah.
SOU units and put them out at high crime areas, and they get that crime to come down, move it somewhere else, and crime would come back. This time they paid a lot of money to UTSA to come up with that same.
They could have saved the money, and you wanted to come up with the idea.
So I was contacted by someone, and I probably mentioned this in a podcast before, I just don't remember which one, in reference to that program, the money that they spent. They weren't even implementing it the way it was designed. It had to go in stages, and then the stages would overlap. You know what I mean? And that's because it's a scientific experiment. You know, if you're trying to make, I don't know, some drink, this much of that, this much of this.
Right.
You know, it's especially once you get it down, you have to put exactly this much of that, exactly this. You know, then it's going to be good. So the same thing with this. If you're not implementing it the right way it was designed, then it's going to throw all the numbers off. So because the city was, I guess, so cheap, even though they bought off on it and not paying like they should to, I'm not saying that they were delinquent or whatever, but it comes down to money. But because of that, they weren't implementing it the way it was designed. And then the other thing was, hey, you got to sit in that parking lot there with your lights on. You got to get there at 12, not at 11:59. Sit there until 12:15, not 12:14, not 12. So a lot of these guys, and just like, and then they're told not to.
Well, how dumb is the criminal? You're sitting there with your overheads on.
To do anything around you.
To do anything.
Yes.
Hey, look at me. I'm going to go break into the car while you're.
Remember the shot spotter situation? So a lot of money, right? Spent a lot of money, right? Had no real results. One arrest in that entire time. It's only because of dumb shit wound up shooting a gun and didn't look that there was police officers sitting right there in that hot spot shot. Yeah, that one worked. But so when we were talking about flipping that switch the other day, and I mentioned this to you, the SAPOA put out something that echoed what the city had been putting out, not just the police department, but what the city had been putting out, the city manager's office, and saying hotspots. That violent crime is down 22% in the hotspot areas. So my question as the president, 'cause we were talking a little bit earlier, there's a lot of ground to cover here, but why is the SAPOA doing the city's work? When we're on the cusp of a contract year, we're short on officers, morale is in the toilet, and we had an officer nearly beat to death the other day. We had multiple podcasts about officers that were shot multiple times. We did a podcast, somewhere around 160 in the last 5 or 6 years, plus or minus. Why is the association bending the knee to the city? Why are we doing their press releases? Because as a president, would you have done that?
Yes and no, right? So it depends upon what's going on, right? So there are times when you have peace and harmony, and when somebody makes, and I'm going to call it an error, because that's like a gimme, right? You, like any kindergartner knows that it's down 22% in the hotspot. Well, what about the rest of the damn? It's up 42% everywhere else except for that one little area.
I talked to a Republican group about it, and I don't buy the newspaper, but I bought one for this one because it was on the headlines.
It's a headliner.
Yeah, down this way. But
22.
if you read the actual article, that was just in the hotspots, like you just spoke about. Yes, if I take that address of Taco Palenque and check the crime stats from where they went, because we parked 2 police officers, there for however long, yeah, they're going to go down. And then you can tout that. Yeah. But if you read that article, somewhere in the back, but overall the crime is down 6%. Well, that can be, that's, you want to celebrate that as a win, that's fine, but that could be the ebbs and flows of crime and life.
And I kind of find tell that to the person that had their vehicle.
Well, this is what they
into.
said. SAPD commitment to high visibility and community-focused policing, like whatever the hell that means, is delivering real results. Violent incidents are down 22% in targeted areas. There was a. So Willie does some work with this guy George something. I won't say Rodriguez. It was like 10 shootings in a weekend at 18 or 24-hour period.
But none in the hotspot.
2 deaths. None in the hotspot. 2 deaths. The chief comes out of City Hall and it prompts up KSAT starting to ask questions. The chief comes on City Hall, and then we'll get you the video, but he says something like, "You're safe." Of course, he's in City Hall, and he's saying that a lot of these shootings in any major city, this one included, shootings are attributed to at-risk behavior.
Much of the violent crime in this city and every city is due to risky behavior.
That's an old thing to say, because the weekend before on the east side there was a couple of shootings, and a woman was coming out of a bar. She was murdered. Oh, no, she wasn't murdered. I don't know that she wasn't murdered. She was shot. She was critical condition. But I
think those were bad words.
That same weekend, the councilperson in District 2, Jalen Mackey Rodriguez, was advocating at City Council last Thursday, the Thursday before, not to hire new police officers. And the county commissioner, Tommy Calvert, was at an Act 4 SA fundraiser. Not just an appearance, raising money.
Right.
Same group that did what?
That's
on the Proposition B,
Yeah.
right? Trying to
Yeah.
protect our collective
the
bargaining.
enemy of the policeman.
Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on that?
For me, those are all missed opportunities. Like I said, that's why I had to disconnect, because I see it. I was like, man, how come there's no reaction? Like we would have been all over. Our team would
You
have
might
been
still
over that.
thinking that you were in that office and this is what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You've been doing it for so long. It's hard not to have that, be thinking in that mindset, because you want to have a warrior's mindset. You want to win, right? You don't want, especially when it comes for negotiations, right? You're coming up to the table. You want to negotiate from a position of strength, not weakness, right? When you repeatedly make yourself irrelevant, when I say that, over time, if you don't say anything about anything, and then when the one time that you do say something, well, people are like, who in the hell are you? Like, they don't know who you are. You're not relevant, right? Because when we needed you to say something, you were silent. So sometimes you have to constantly keep yourself in the media, good or bad. You have to keep yourself as a voice of reason. Like, you're there specifically for the rank and file. Like that poor policeman that got beat up, that's unbelievable to me. Why don't we have enough guys out there? Right? What are the causations of these things? These hotspot areas, that's just a boondoggle.
Smoke and mirror.
It's smoke and mirror. It's another. You cannot. Ever since we've been on the police department, we've always done more with less. That was an old chief's famous saying, right? And that's true. Our guys do hustle, and they do more with less. But it's not acceptable anymore. You have to have more boots on the ground. If you want to have 22% reduction in violent crime all over the city, not in one little square mile, I think that's what it is, right? 1 square mile, or even less than that.
If that.
I said, you need to put boots on the ground. You need to put those. Even if it would be great if you had a community officer that they could spend the time in certain subdivisions all day, right? If you had enough troops, you could do that. But they don't want to put those resources towards that. They want it towards something else, and it's all politically driven. So if you want to do the math, one policeman costs $135,000 a year a head, tax, title, and license. So if you multiply, like, how many other people that they're behind, like, I don't even know what the numbers are. We've been high as 275, 300.
I've been hearing 500.
Oh, 500. Well,
Yeah.
multiply 500 by 135.
I have those numbers. Can I read this down just real quick? So between September 1st, right, of this year, and the 22nd, September 1st through 22nd, there were 27 violent incidents in San Antonio with 11 deaths. Like they're saying 22% down. This is off of Facebook by an attorney by the name of Stanley Bernstein. I don't know him. Willie, I think, knows him. He's a very smart man. He puts out there, he doesn't just weigh in on police officer and law enforcement. He weighs on important city topics. Why did the airport not approve Southwest Airlines? Things that can help the city grow. This is what he wrote. These are excerpts. San Antonio and Dallas have roughly the same population and poverty levels. San Antonio would need an additional 2,000 officers to match Dallas by population. Land area. Will the hotspot area always see a drop in crime? It's an excerpt. What happens to the area when the police were temporarily taken? Like, what happens when they were moved? Do you want police taken from your neighborhood to hotspot other areas? As soon as the police leave the hotspot, how soon does crime return? Is hotspot policing a gimmick or an effort to hide a police shortage? By population and geography, San Antonio is way behind Dallas and Houston in the number of officers. Is overtime another gimmick that San Antonio uses to hide the police shortage? Does it get worse? Does the city use the increase in overtime expenses as an excuse not to hire police officers? This is the part I was getting to. Dallas has 235 officers per 100,000 people. Houston has 218,000 police officers for 100,000 people. San Antonio has 154 officers per 1,000 people. And San Antonio would need 1,236 officers to meet the Dallas average by population. Why is the association doing press releases on 22% reduction in crime and not using the numbers that this attorney, this San Antonio citizen, doing? Because it sounds like what this guy's doing is kind of being an ad hoc San Antonio Police Officers Association president.
Yeah, those are the stories that our guys should be putting out.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it's like that's what we should be doing. And like we were talking, banging that thing over and over and over and over.
There's a difference, and I think maybe that's what the current leadership is probably challenged with is you can be friends with the chief, you can be friends with the city manager and the deputy manager, and maybe you are, maybe you're not, right? But you can be friends, right? But there's a business
I call it
aspect
acquaintances. I wouldn't want to be
acquaintance.
friends with
Maybe that's maybe a better word, right? They're your business acquaintances, right? You have to have a relationship in order for you to forge anything, right? To go forward. You can either have conflict or you can have a common ground. When they see, and this is my own personal experience, right? Because I experienced it myself. People can take your kindness as an act of weakness.
And they usually do.
Yes, the city, I'm not saying that they're the enemy, right? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if they don't fear that you're going to be the lion that wakes up and then all of a sudden just starts ripping the hell out of everything that it sees, then they're never going to give you any consideration for anything because they don't fear you. They should have, and I don't know if fear is the right adjective, but they need to be thinking in the back of their heads, if we do X, what is the police union going to do? Right now, they're not thinking, well, I don't have to worry about it because they're not going to do anything. Because
they're irrelevant?
Yes, my opinion.
So a local reporter that deals with nothing but police-related stories was on the podcast. Willie talked to him the other day. I'll let Willie finish it. If you want to tell the story, you said, hey, why don't you contact Danny about these things? And what was his response to you?
Pretty much that he's irrelevant. But it goes to what you just said. We don't hear from you. And I've even heard, and you can tell me if this is wrong, they've tried to contact him for statements, can't reach him, and call you.
Yeah, that's true.
And again,
but I'm gonna beat up on the guy. So
that's what I was trying to say. This wasn't the podcast.
But I think in his,
but you have to say certain
right.
things.
So
about it.
Unfortunately, Danny didn't get any of the tutorship from me. Like he was part of the group, right? At the tail end, he was my PAC chairman, but he really wasn't involved in the day-to-day operations and the things, and he really missed an opportunity. I asked him to come on board. He got elected in November, and we were going to say, look, take all of December, all of January, be with me. Let's just counsel through all these things so that you can make your own decisions of what you want to do. Like everything I tell you.
You're familiar with it. It's like an FTO program.
You can still do whatever you want and have the same result, but I just want to be able to tell you so you have it in your ability, in your chest, so to speak, to if you want it, you can open it up, you can use it. He chose not to. I got the whole time, I got 2 or 3 hours with the guy, and that was it. And he had a little notepad. I think he wrote down one thing. I was like, okay, well, I guess he knows it already. And it showed right away because they were going through Proposition B, right? But Prop B was, you have to understand that Public Alliance and I and Rory McShane, we knew that that election was coming, right? So we started in April before the election was to happen. I think it was April of I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was 20 or 19. I can't remember what it was. We did a survey. It was right after the George Floyd incident. If the election would have been that May, we would have lost collective bargaining. That's a true statement.
Wow.
I did not let that. So I always wonder in my mind. I'm always thinking like chess.
So that would have been a post George Floyd.
Yeah. So
knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
So what are the people that don't like the police or don't like the police? Whatever I call them my enemies, right? But they're not like enemy like Russia and Ukraine kind of enemy, right? So just preface that. So what is my enemy thinking about what they can do to move or maneuver or gain ground or to hurt us as an organization or my guys or girls, the troops? I'm gonna call them the troops. It's non-gendered. That I did not let that out. When I saw that survey, man, my heart was my stomach was hit the ground. Like, holy shit, that's bad.
I will eventually.
That was the first time that we were upside down. I was worried. So we put the team together, and we outlined a strategy, and we worked. I mean, I had meetings about every 2 weeks to 4 weeks, constantly, every month, going before. Now,
How far in advance of the vote were you doing this?
it was a month. It was a year and 2 months.
So that far out.
Yeah. Once I knew it. If you're waiting the day before or a week before
Or the last 30 days.
or the last 30 days or the last 6 months, you're too late, partner. You're done, because they've already got the political momentum that you're going to lose.
And that group was moving.
Oh yeah, fix SAPD.
That's their business.
Look at they were getting a lot of dark money. Whatever they were getting their funds from, right? But they just didn't pop out of nowhere and decide they were going to get
They
all
call
these
themselves
donations.
grassroots.
We won that
Crap.
election by 3,400 votes.
Yeah.
That's like the ratio was 51.15% against it, like to keep it, 48.85% to take it away. A total of 150,000 votes in a city of 1.5 million.
But understand the importance of no PR company would touch us. Think about that for a minute. No PR company would touch us. This is before the vote, right? Well, I'm talking about 2011, 2010. Scully put the word out. Anybody, your persona non grata.
2011 and 2010. This vote was in 22.
No, I know that, but I have
You're
to.
talking about that far back.
I'm sorry, I have to go back because it's important. History is important. Some people have a distorted version of what happened, but I was there. We were going through the Legacy Committee task force, and there was a lot of, and that task force was a direct attack on our pension fund, on our retiree health care. Our benefits were too high. I don't know if you remember this. We got too many policemen. They're going to tank and over. They're going to take over the whole the budget. And Scully basically scared the hell out of everybody. Sure. And it was all just a facade, right? So we had to punch and break through that. No organization would touch us. Even the organization that was with a $3 billion pension fund. The pension fund doesn't get. They're not controversial. They're like the fun place to be, right? Even their PR firm bailed on them. Like, no firm fires your client. They fired their client, the pension fund, because they knew that they wanted to have contracts with the city of San Antonio going forward. It was like their 100th anniversary. I can't remember what anniversary it was. They wanted a big campaign bid for that. And I'm sure people wanted at the table maybe were saying, hey, if you take care of this, we'll take care of that. We'll take care of you, right? It's business. So the pension fund got fired. They got fired from their PR company. And we had Chris, the Public Alliance was the only one that was willing to take the risk and come and help us. That if you think about that, in this big city that we have, what other organization's willing to do that, right? And so it was through their PR work that we pushed back on the Legacy Committee stuff, and we were battlefield tested when it came to this. We put an A+ team together, right? Danny was invited to all those meetings. Right. Anybody that wanted to attend, the board of director, executive board member, were some of them, boring? Of course they were, because we were getting statistics and data and that kind of information. And for other people, that's nonsense, right? For me, I was constantly on the phone when something would happen. I was with the phone with Ken at 10:30 at night. Like, no other PR firm's going to do that for you, right? What are we going to do about this? And so I knew I was done as a president, right? I said, no, I could have ran again. And I think, you know what, it's time for me to go. It's a clean slate, and it was time. It was a tough decision for me to make. I lost Mike Dupree. I lost Dean Fisher, my two right hand and my left hand guys. They were tenured, they went, and then, but the plan still continues, right? People leave, get replaced, and so by November, December, we had already figured out that the election, we flipped the numbers. I was like, thank God that it was 52-48, something like that.
Just to get the timeline, November, December, before the May of the election.
Yes.
So we're talking 7 months.
Yeah, I'm kind of jumping around there, yeah. So I'd already known that statistically that we flipped the narrative on those guys quietly and did it. Now, we were doing press things and we were doing things through social media and other shit. I mean, we would have like 40,000 likes and shit, like on our Facebook and stuff. I mean, it was. I think what that's like. I think
We're working towards it.
Just out of curiosity, I checked the other day. I think.
But I
these
will
guys are
say
getting
we
sick.
have the same firm.
No,
Public
they're
Alliance,
good.
you
They
know,
are.
that's,
Hey, if
you know,
they
why
are
we're-
great,
we are
but
what
they
we
are. You cannot ask
clarify
anybody
something.
better. But anyways, when I left, when I was telling people that I was leaving, they were scared because they're like, "What do you mean you're retiring? We got the biggest fight of our life coming up. It's collective bargaining." And I would tell them, "Look, the plan is set. The car is built." Right. The one thing you don't have to do now, then whoever is at the time, he didn't know who it was. Whoever gets in the car, now he can drive it into the guardrails and F it up. Right. But if he doesn't do that, if he just goes straight, you'll get across the goal line. You guys will win because I'd already known that we had flipped the script on these guys. They probably didn't know, but we did. Yeah. And so December came. This is that we're going to retire. Coming president said he didn't want to talk to me. I said, okay, fine. I didn't get to update him on all the stuff with the election stuff. Trust me, when he came into office, he probably was so overwhelmed with stuff he did not know or understand that it probably set him back a bit. It had to, if human nature would be, because it'd be like you trying to get in these Niagara Falls and understand everything that's coming at you. But it's a decision that he made, right? Right or wrong, it's his choice.
The decision not to lean on you.
Yeah.
Or Mike or Dean.
Yeah, I don't know if he called those guys or not. Probably not. So, but that's okay. And I was hearing whispers that they weren't even having meetings or they weren't even talking about anything. I was just like, holy, these guys are gonna F it up. It was like 1 week before early voting, they decided to have a kind of get together and have a meeting. Now, one of the things like would drive me nuts, and then this is like my first PTSD moment. Like the girl from Fix SAPD, one of the loudest voices, was arrested. This is February or of whatever year, that can't remember what that year, 21. She was doping her kid, giving her night juice so that she could go out and protest against the police.
And that actually made the news.
It did.
It moved the needle and it's zero. It didn't move
But
the needle up.
nothing from SAPOA. I was like, you got
Would've been something to
you
talk
got
about.
one of the leaders of this group that was doping her kid with Benadryl, making her go to sleep. She ended up getting arrested by Bexar County.
Who was that?
I can't remember her dang name, but you just Google Benadryl doping, and I'm sure her face will pop up. But it's like, those are all. I was like, they should have been on that, man. They should have been blasting that. That these are the type of people that their rhetoric has no meaning and has no merit because they have no
Interesting.
credibility. Don't listen to them because they're the ones that are doping their kids, right? But those were political misses as you go through, right? And thank God, by the grace of God, this community has always stepped up for their police.
But they're faltering. And you have to say that with that point, because I've defended the community here, right? I've said that, hey, you know what? I've stood up for them and said, hey, even, sometimes we don't agree. And I said, when I got here, this community in particular has always strongly supported their police departments. I have friends in other departments. So you're seeing that falter by inaction. And when this, let me just point this out. You had said, hey, we don't want to bash the guy. This is not bashing that he did. This is the position you asked to be in, and you're not doing a good enough job at it. But what I think needs to be said is that the way they approached this, because I was still active at that time, their mindset was they have a study that says people only remember what happens in the last 30 days.
That's true.
Well, I don't think it's true because you and I were talking on the phone earlier, and I said this to you. I said, look, I'm a conservative, right? I don't always agree with everything that they say what the Trump administration says. I lean more towards his policies, way more towards his policies. I lean nowhere near the last administration's policies, but I was a huge supporter of John F. Kennedy, right? I thought Clinton did a good job, right? Those things. But what we were talking about is I said it's muscle memory for the mind, right? So this is where I differ. I said to you, what's the difference between Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC? The only difference is the message.
Yeah.
But the marketing is the same. 2,000 times, 3,000 times, making sure people hear it so much they believe it. We have an intern here. We were just talking about that before we went on camera.
Well, that's why I talked about, you're absolutely right. That's why SAPOA needs to be relevant. that muscle memory. They need to be reacting
And that's
and
banging,
saying
banging,
things.
banging.
It doesn't always have to be a negative, right? They can be positives, but the 22% in the
what they're touting.
22% in a square mile is nothing to brag about. For basically it's a false headline because it gives you this.
Where do you know? I don't know. Willie, do you know? I'll make this an open-ended question. Where do we sit in terms of what our salary is at San Antonio? When we all came to San Antonio, we were number one.
I don't think we're on the.
Nah, we're not number one anymore.
But
It
we
goes
used to
up
be
and
one
down.
or two up top. At the
It's
top.
so the difficult part of it
five.
is
We're number 7.
yeah. So it's difficult because you have to look at total packages.
Soft money, insurance.
Right. Insurance is a big one. And people that emulate, so we wore the contract to emulate, right? Because we were the number one for so long. They wanted to emulate the things that we had. They wanted to emulate our longevity. They wanted our not anymore, but our discipline process. They wanted to emulate our health care. Case in point, Corpus Christi PD for years had paid for their health care. I think at some point it was like $500 to $700, right, for a family to get their health care. Right now it's free because they've incorporated it like we have it for ours, which gives you a huge pay raise, right? Those are those my brother helping my brother kind of all rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing, and that's really what.
Who carries a contract, Mike? Patrol officers, right?
Yeah.
Young people.
Yeah.
Do young people care more about what they're going to make or more about the insurance? When you're in your first 8 years of your career, I'm not talking about a guy who got out of the military, has married, 3 kids, came back after 7 years and wherever.
So it's all percentages, right? So I think at the time, a quarter of our guys were single. So quarter want the bucks. The other guys want good health care for them and their families. And
I didn't care.
a lot of people don't
Most
think
of us don't when we're young, right?
Yeah, you don't think
my
about
point
that.
is not to take away from what's very important, but you have to be older in life and more mature to understand the value of those things. So Frisco, Plano, Midland, Houston, Dallas, Austin, and then San Antonio. That's where we're at on the pay scale. I was telling you both the other day, I saw something with either San Marcos or New Braunfels starting their officers at like 75, 79,000 a year. Our guys are starting at like 57, 58 a year. Where do you think young people are going to go?
They're gonna follow the
people,
money.
right? We're like 300 officers down. I know Eric Wall said the other day that we've overhired. We have more people, I'm like, Eric, you're better.
We've never
Man,
overhired.
come on, Eric. Come on. Seriously. And so we have this situation with a different city council. But I wanted to ask you, when we're talking about Proposition B, because what we were talking about, I don't think officers, I would say a large number of officers have no real idea what it would have meant to them to lose collective bargaining.
Yeah.
Can you talk with us about that?
You were headed that way earlier. We were talking about it, so I didn't want to jump the gun with that question.
It would be devastating.
In what regard? If I'm a brand new officer, I got 2 years on, and I'm saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Would
Just
you say-
imagine so I'll paint you the picture. So imagine from one day, okay, the contract no longer exists. The city can now dictate what they're going to do to you, right? So one day to the next, you're going to be on civilianized health care. Pick your plan you want.
So when you say it no longer exists, everything in there.
When
that
collective
we
bargaining goes away,
negotiate is gone.
once the contract is expired, it's done. Like you probably survive the evergreen, right? But they'll take you to court to fight it because it's inevitable, right? You're dead end. As soon as it's over, the city has said, we're not going to negotiate with you. We're just waiting. We're going to wait you out, so to speak, right?
Let me say this. I encourage the listeners, whenever you hear this, you have some young friends, single and all that, have them listen to this portion here because they need to know. The future is not bright. It's not looking like that. So we need to get these younger people involved to know what we're headed towards.
Yeah, it's
And
important.
that's why we're asking this question.
Nothing in the contract is given to you as the kindness of my heart. That doesn't exist. You had to fight and scrap for work. There's still remnants of the 88 contract and everybody out there. Eric says about the 88. Half the guys weren't even born in 88, right? That are on the department now, so they have no idea. And I doubt there's very little old timers that even know what we reference when we keep saying the 88 contract. That one put us on the map. Flamia did a good job doing that for us.
changed everything.
Yeah, it put us on the map. Those legacy things are still in existence today. Our healthcare, the pace range, the longevity, all those things. They're amazing. My whole job when I was in office was to maintain those
Stay the
things,
course,
right?
right?
Stay the course, not give up an inch. Like people would, why are you so hard-headed about that? It was just something that I felt conviction in, that I was not going to back up, right? Because I didn't ever want to be the guy to say, "Oh, you were the one that gave that up." Okay.
But for the sake of this conversation, can we just run it down real quick in like 3 minutes or less? Pay packages, automatic raises, longevity, gone.
Yeah, so you might get so insurance would be the big one. Like if you're a single guy, it's probably not going to affect you. If you're married with 2 or 3 kids, yeah, and your wife is sick all the time, or your kids, yeah, it's going to affect you big time.
What about shift differential, stuff?
All that goes away.
All that goes away. So, what about management rights? I mean, not management.
No,
rights. Those increase.
no, no.
What about employee rights? What about the arbitration aspect?
So now the contract is gone. I can't remember. Did you say civil rights or just the contract?
No, I'm saying employee rights.
Okay, so you have civil service still. They
Under
didn't
143, right?
Yeah, so they still have civil service you can fall back to. Now, it's not. It's like surviving like this, like the water line. So you're not like this under the water line. You can survive like this, and you can still survive. And there are cities that do survive under 143. So your longevity is set by the state. I think you get $8 a year. I can't remember, $8 a month.
3% after 5 up to.
No, they don't give you that for longevity
No,
for the
now
state.
under the
Ours,
contract, I want people to know what they're losing. As a
Yeah.
30-year veteran,
Yeah,
you're losing 18% of
compounded
your money.
over the life of your. Yeah, it's incredible, right? So you're losing that. Right, that's a big hit.
Well, it's a pension part of it too.
Of course it is. So you're looking at reduced pension annuities for you in the future. You're having an out-of-pocket expense of unexpectedly for your insurance on a monthly basis, like another car payment that you weren't expecting. Probably, I think the going rate right now maybe about $1,800 or $1,200 for a family, if I had to guess, for civilians.
What about bonus status?
No, all those bonus days,
Holidays, city holidays,
You get whatever civil
What do they get?
service gives you, and it's far less.
So when
just so you know so Austin Police Department had their back broken because their contract expired, and they only had a 1-year contract. I think theirs was a 1 year or 1 month. I can't remember what it was. Their evergreen clause. It expired, and they got hard headed, and the city dug in, and the union dug in. And I remember it was on December. I remember talking to the president. I gave him the sign of the cross. And I was like, "Dude,
You on the side of the cross?
yeah, you're not going to make it. You are not going to make it." And how long do you think it took when they went straight civil service? Now, the council was nice, and they let them continue their current wages and salary, right? Just base wages, not your other steps and other stuff, right? Just base wages stayed. But everything else got your shift differential, your FTO pay.
How would the disciplinary system change?
It would have gone right 143, right? You wouldn't be entitled to anything.
So now we've asserted, right? No arbitration rights are too high right now. They can put you through you can meet the rap but not the ride, right? We did it daily. And so if you take all that away, it's still 3-4 years. We talked to Thomas. We were out. The last podcast hasn't come out yet. He was out 5 years to get his job.
Yeah, it would be, well, it probably wouldn't take that long, but you'd have civil service. You wouldn't have an independent arbitrator. You'd have civil service.
Who was appointed by who?
The city manager. So good luck. No, there's probably nice people, right? And I've some people that serve down there. They mean well, but
are they knowledgeable? Do you have to be knowledgeable to be on?
No. You can pick some homeless dude off the street.
They're the same people that also, when we take a promotional test and we want to contest a question, we go before them. I've gone before them. I'm telling you, they are nice people.
Yeah,
they don't
nice
really
people.
have an understanding of anything law enforcement related.
No, they're asked. It's different for somebody in a private. I mean, in the civilian world, right? To ask them to come in and sit in and digest what's happening and rapidly make a decision. And look, there's a lot of good people over there, but you're placed there because the city manager put you in there. If you get the nod or the wink, like if I fire you, you better damn well not bring the guy back. If I'm the city manager, right? Because that's the last time you're going to get appointed to anything. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's
and now they have the fallback. Well, the chief fired him, but the arbitrator brought him back, which we beat that horse to death. Right.
But you know, you keep saying.
But it took less than a month to go back to Austin. they broke their backs, and then they acquiesced, whatever you want, and the city had them. So the evergreen clause is extremely important, but if you ever lost collective bargaining, it would be horrible. And you would probably see guys flee to other cities.
What would that do to the city, Mike?
Oh, it'd be devastating. If it's you brought up the good point earlier of why the line to get into HSI or Border Patrol, they filled their people that they need. I mean, they had more than enough. And you touched on it, but you didn't say it. Because they had a leader that they knew had their back. He said, we're not going to tolerate this BS anymore. I think he actually said the word, right? Yeah, he said it. And he goes, I'm taking the gloves off. You do what you got to do. So now you got your YouTube videos of pushing these chocolate-colored hair, whatever the hell they got going on the people that have no jobs out of the way when they're getting in front of their.
It made her stop being victims, right?
Right. So yeah, don't be a victim mentality. Go out there and do your jobs, and they're doing it at their own risk, because there's still politicians that still don't give them the support they need, but management does. If they want to up the ranks of San Antonio, they have to have a leader that the community thinks this dude's got our back, right? That we go in there, we can get behind him and rally him. Because
how do you get a leader like that? Through a strong union, right?
That'd be one way. We do have input in what happens in that say. I mean, because I was part of the community group that voted for Tony Trevino to be our next police chief. And then when we all voted, Scully comes in and goes, "Hey, guess what, everybody? We don't have to have the vote anymore. I'm bringing Chief McManus. Yeah, I'm bringing Chief McManus back." And it was like, "What the hell just happened?"
Why do you think she did that?
It's control.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% control. Tony Tony Trevino, I think, was a free thinker. I think he came up from the ranks. I think he genuinely wanted to do the right thing.
He did.
And he was always caught. McManus cares more about his perception publicly than anything else. That he cares.
What I hear.
You say something publicly against him, that's like a dagger to his heart, right? That's a reality. Yeah, and he doesn't want to have somebody telling him something different than what he.
Does it managed by vendetta? Like, if he has it out for you, does he has it out? Because I've said it, and I was in a different position than you, and I know that if you get on the wrong side.
Yeah, I would say yes. If you're in a position of management, you'll find yourself as the night captain. You'll find yourself, in charge of the car pound.
Is there something that the union could do to like a strong president could point those things out?
You could, right? It is ultimately the chief's decision to put them where they want.
He has very strong management rights.
But you got to remember too, let me put this, trying to put it right. Did the captain get moved by his own atonement, or was it part of what the messaging with SAPOA was, right? Because if he was connected to something we were saying and he got moved for that, well, then most definitely you need to be 100% behind the guy.
Oh, it's usually they just get on the wrong side of him.
Yeah, so if you freelanced it and you were saying your own stuff, weren't even any part of the police association, then it's kind of difficult to make the leap that those are consequences. Now, is it right that he did that? No, but people will rat on each other. It's terrible.
It's devious.
It's terrible work. It's a terrible work environment that you can't have confidentiality with your coworker about how they felt about a certain topic or thing, knowing that it's going to get back to somebody in the command staff.
The ones that are doing it are aspiring for things that they have to be able to do that with, and we've talked about that too. But and time goes so fast. Well, I just have to ask you. After Proposition B, you also went through the 4-year evergreen clause where you hung tight. Right, those 4 years in your tenure where we didn't have a contract.
Yeah, it was before that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, why are we learning our lessons? Because I also said to you, man, if I'm on the opposite side of this, I mentioned Tommy Calvert went to an Act 4SA fundraiser. Fundraiser means I'm helping you raise funds. Why wouldn't they come after us? Why are we learning our lessons? Like, I think they should. If I was on the opposite side of the same, I would raise money. I'd come after us again and again and again, because we're not organized, we're not respected, we're not feared, and we're irrelevant. Why not come after us?
They probably will, and that should probably scare our team, right?
I want to scare our team because I'm not talking to Danny anymore. I'm trying to talk through Danny to the membership, and that's why it's so vital that you're here, because they listen to us and they're like, we've heard those guys, but it's important that the people understand.
So just know that And one of the reasons why I came on here was when I said rising tides raise all boats, I meant what I said. Everything that I have knowledge of over the course of my tenure on the police department, anybody that calls me, and I have some young patrolmen that do call me with questions, I will answer anything you want, right? I want you to know that there are resources for you if you want to aspire to a leadership, because it takes a lot, right? Because you have to have that warrior mentality to stand up for what's wrong. And some people kind of get a little weak-kneed when it comes to doing that. Like they don't want to make waves or they don't want to do that. But
I won't say some. There's a lot.
But that's the difference between lions and sheep and men, right? You have to be a lion sometimes. Not all the time.
Is that
Okay. Not all the time.
Yeah.
But when it's necessary, when it's relevant, you need to be that lion. So the answer to your question is, when you make yourself irrelevant, and you don't come up and you don't say things, right? And you kind of let it meander on its way. When it's time for you to say something, nobody's going to want to listen to you. So whoever the new leadership that comes in, because these guys are going to go, and there's new people that are going to aspire to come up. And it may be that some people that are in there that are raising up right now.
No doubt.
They have opportunities, right? Because I'm not the only guy. There's other battlefield-tested union presidents that are out there, retired, that are willing to help and assist any way that they can. They want to, because we put our lives into that moment of time. Remember, I was just a milk carton, right? And I had an expiration date on the top. I didn't know when that expiration date was, but I knew it was coming, right? And you just do the best you can within that relevant time.
That's an acquired skill, Mike. You can't come in. I mean, I get it. There's good patrolmen, good detectives, good sergeants, whatever you want it to be, that come in there, have charisma, have good ideas. They get thrust into this thing and they have no idea how to make that machine move. So can I ask you something? Talk about missed opportunities. There was something the other day that the city of San Antonio is paying $10,000 a month to a PR company to help Mayor Ortiz Jones with her public relations. Like she's not likable. I mean, right? We're going to put that up, right? It was straight off the thing. So that's $10,000 a month. She also is out there putting up, reduce the number of officers that they're going to put into the budget. We're going to have that for you too. Like, this is not me. I'm pulling it. Yeah. KSAT. The Current's done a really good job. Let me apologize now. I made a couple of snarky little remarks about the Current in one of our podcasts. There's a guy named Michael something. He's doing a great job over there. He's objective, bringing real city-related facts, and I want to thank him for that. The Current.
Okay.
And he's doing a good job. I mean, he's bringing these things to light, and I need to recognize it. His name is Michael Ventura. But so we know the mayor is a detail, always had a detail, right? But now, and I've heard this from multiple people, she got some threats, and now there's 2 on-duty police officers that are on duty, not an overtime side to her overnight. So is this a situation where the union should say, hey, you're asking to cut positions?
It's a vulnerability, yeah.
But now you want officers in front of your house.
Yeah. The same thing nationally, the people that are in Congress that are the most vocal against police or ICE, they're the ones that want police protection the most.
Speaking of that, I just got notified about that again. You know, as if, I mean, and I appreciate that, but this happened with LAPD too, and I think I told you about it.
You did?
Yeah, LAPD, their association president, spoke up like he's supposed to, or she, I don't know if it was yeah.
Was that Craig Lowley? I can't remember who it was.
I'm not sure, but they were like, hey, you know, we need officers on the street, yet we're providing security for Kamala Harris.
It is a vulnerability.
Is what it was, and they got them pulled. So that there was the teeth that those guys had, you know, the strength that he had. And I asked this person, I said, okay, where's Danny on this? You know, and it's just like, you know, come on, you know, and I don't want to hear that. I want to hear you know, has he said anything about it? You know, if you're saying that we're talking about, we're short police officers, you know, no doubt, and then they're saying, well, because of money, we're going to cut these officers. Okay, but she herself is going to pull officers to be on, and they're on duty. Now, if she pulled guys to work off duty, that's a whole other story.
Another thing.
That's a whole other story. But if they're on duty, that and protecting her from, you know, is it a legitimate threat? I don't know, or whatever. But have some sense.
Are they with her 24/7?
That's I don't know about that particularly, but they're sitting outside of her apartment. or her
She's
condo.
putting herself in at risk.
And I'm hearing, again, it could be a rumor that she
Yeah.
went out and told them, asked them that they could turn their radios down because they were bothering her. Yeah, and so, it's such an arrogant position.
KSAT, after that shooting where it got a lot of attention, right, where the chief says, hey, these people are at risk of every big city. And she says, yeah, and it just was on KSAT. Well, that for you too. And she says, yeah, what happened this weekend was unfortunate.
I think this weekend is unfortunate, and we've got to do everything possible to ensure people feel safe, are safe.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And these are some of the things that you had said to us. We were on a phone call the other day, kind of prepping a little bit. You said these things, and I just want to see if you'll respond to them. Great. You said inaction was not something I could accept.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
you have a lot of experience, and I know that you struggled with something. I don't know if you want to get into it. We can go as long as you want, but I just want to let you know it's a little about an hour. But you struggled with something that I think that was very instrumental in your decision making, right? It was in 2017.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about it. Don't want to talk about
No,
it.
it's fine. So inaction is an action. It's your failure. It's failure to do something, right? Where there's an expectation of you to do something, right? Because, a very wise union president once told me, "Hey, Mike, when you're charging downhill, make sure you look over your shoulder and make sure the troops are behind you, right?" When you think about it, it's like, yeah, that's probably a very smart idea, right? It's a good idea, right? So the case in point what you're talking about is, I had gotten wind that in 2017 in December that McManus had intervened into a scene when he was out injured from a hip or knee replacement that he had, right? So he's probably on hydrocodone or whatever, he's painkillers, and shows up at the scene on a Saturday.
But we don't know.
Yeah, but and he intervenes, and we end up, he lets them all go. We're talking about the illegals that were found by the Watertown over at
And a juvenile.
35. Yeah, there was a juvenile female that was there too. So in January we get wind of it, right? And there was a supervisor that I had talked about, and I said, "Hey man, did this happen?" And he said, "Yes. As a matter of fact, I said in the CID room, I said, boys, we're watching the general manual burn right in front of us, because the chief was making subordinates do things that were contrary to what our rules and regs say they're supposed to do." So long story short, all the phones were collected and given to a defense attorney. They all were escorted out the door into 3 white vans, and they all went off into oblivion to never be seen again. And then this was on the cusp of Senate Bill 4 being passed by the Texas House, signed by the governor, and it was law, right? No sanctuary cities. And then they did this. So I had a decision to make. Are you going to let it go, or are you going to make a stand and say something about it? Ethically, I knew what the right decision was, but the chief and I had just made up from the my no confidence vote from him, right? And it took a while for that to happen. So we were just now getting on the thing, and then he pulls this stunt. I'm calling it a stunt.
Sure.
Had a lot of, so we had a big powwow meeting about it. People are like, nah, let it go. Some people say, you got to do something about it. But let me tell you what image came in my head. I saved a lot of policemen's careers over the life of my tenure president, right? A lot of we're talking about grown men, because they're grown men as policemen, but I'm talking about guys that were on the street. Like, if you were in a fight, you want that dude to have your back, because he was just the destroyer, right? That's that kind of guy, right? To have that kind of guy start shaking for the adrenaline that's pumping in him, because he knows he's facing termination on something. It could have been a bonehead thing that he did, right? And the chief is just like, this is too political. I have to make an example out of you, and they're going to fire him, right? And we're trying to save his job, and it's on the line. When people get to that point, to that threshold, that's a dangerous, that abyss that you come up to, you don't ever want to get to there. It's dangerous. I've seen guys crushed by that. And I'm thinking about how McManus just flippantly just ignored what all these rules and regulations that we have, and did what he did what he did, right? And I was like, if anybody else would have done that, they would have been fired on the spot. Like, you're gone. It's just unbelievable to me how there was no recourse to it, right? So I wrote a letter to mayor and I wrote a letter to council, send it to him. Scully basically gave me the middle finger. She said, the rules don't apply to the chief of police, they apply to you.
And she meant that.
Yeah, she damn well meant that. I was
And
like,
he knows it too.
I was like, okay.
Well,
No.
he's her boy. She
Oh,
brought
yeah.
him from Phoenix.
So I said, okay, that's fine. I said, so I went myself. I asked Jimmy Rodriguez, who was my great liaison guy for anything political. That dude was fantastic for me. Myself, Jimmy, and Dean Fisher, we went to the Capitol. So we want a voice in front of the governor of Texas. Hopefully SAPOA can do that now. And we got to the lieutenant governor, we got to the attorney general's office, and I was sitting in a room with a table about 15 feet long with high back chairs. I mean, this is like
Good chairs.
oh, yeah, good, expensive chairs, right? In front of lawyers. Tell me what happened. And I explained it to them, and they was like, you could have heard a pin drop. They could not believe what San Antonio police chief did. It was unbelievable to them, right? So before we even got back home, the Attorney General of Texas had sent the city of San Antonio a preservation order. Hold everything, don't destroy anything, we're coming, right? And despite that, the chief said his phone, somehow his wife got him a new phone, and so all of his material and text messages and everything were lost. That's what I said too, but I thought that was kind of convenient. Nothing ever came out of that.
Evidence.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, years later, now throughout this, people were like, "I just let it go, man. You're just whipping a dead horse. Nobody cares about it." And
I hate those people when they say that shit.
Remember the 30-day window? Yeah. Like they're worried about the thing today, right? But the horse was already out of the barn, right? It was already running around. I have no control over it at this point because now it's with the Texas Attorney General's office. Now it's just my job just to keep reminding people about, why do you think we had the billboards, right, of what he did? Why do you think we had how many guys were short? Because I wanted, like you said, it was constantly, I put up billboards on social media that I had people from the city driving around. We all found out this through depositions. They're driving around town trying to find it. They were fake. Because they saw it on social media and they thought, oh, this is a billboard that's somewhere. I got to go find it. They wanted to take pictures of it to let the city manager know. I had them running around with their tails cut off.
You were ethically sound, and you did exactly what you also said here. I was put into a position that I had no choice but to take action. Yeah. But you know what I said to you is, I think the no confidence vote in that situation, because immediately Cheryl Scully and the city attorney immediately came to his back. Like they didn't even for a second waver. And so all I think is that just made him the person he is today. And I said this to you, I said, he is 100% emboldened. He has no fear of anything. He doesn't answer to anyone. He does whatever it takes to maintain his job.
But he has a different variable, not to interrupt you.
To what?
He has a different variable he has to deal with right now, and that's he's got a new mayor.
Well,
because if the new mayor, when she gets her feet underneath her, and eventually she will, because right now there's a learning curve.
Sure.
And the city manager is probably manipulating that learning curve right now.
Well, they're spending $10,000 a month.
Of course,
picture.
because I'm making sure you're happy, right? As soon as I get my happiness, it's going to be redirected. Trust me, it will. All leaders do that. And McManus's days are he has a plate on him too, a milk carton, right? We all have an expiration date.
He's starting to smell.
Yeah.
He's starting to smell.
Date is April
And
2020.
the excuses of crime, those other things, they're going to pivot. Once the mayor gets, now these are all opportunities where the union needs to be a stable voice of reason. Like, even though the mayor may not want more policemen, but there's opportunities. You need to be there having meetings with the mayor and say, look, we may disagree, but this is why I think it's important, why we need more cops, because of X, Y, Z. Show her the proof of that. Now, at the end of the day, she might give you the finger. I don't care. Might ignore you. But at least be at the table. Don't ignore it. Even if you get 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, take the opportunity to meet with her and to talk to her and to say, look, this is what's happening. I think you need to know, because you never know when your grievances will align with hers. And when they do, you have commonality. And that commonality is power, because now you're in the same course, because she's going to want you to do things that help her.
Seize the moments when they come.
That's right. Yeah. It's all political, every single one of them. How do you think that I love Mayor Ivy Tabor. Do you know that our relationship at the very beginning was terrible?
Yeah. She was the one that got us the contract.
It was terrible. And despite that, I still kept trying to meet with her and explain with her. And that woman would put up with me and all my antics, and she listened. And until finally the light clicked and she goes, "You're right." And then when that light clicked and we were right, it all shifted. And it was beautiful because the things we had predicted and showed her that Scully is a methodical machine. I can tell you exactly what she's going to forecast, how she's going to do it, what she's going to do, because it's a constant, because it's always the same. It doesn't deviate, right? When she wants her end goal, this is what's going to happen. So I had already predicted ahead of time things that were going to happen. A lot of it of making the police budget look like it's bigger than it is. What's the easiest thing to do? I'm going to roll in parks. I'm going to roll in airport.
That's coming.
And it makes it look like it's a lot more expensive than what it really is, right? But you're sitting on mayor and council, you don't know any different. You're just looking at, you see police budget, wow, it's exploding, right? We need to do something about it.
And when I say it's coming, I told you, I really truly believe they're going to try to end around and make those members of SAPD. And I think there's been conversations that Danny's been a part of. And I asked you, I said, just when we were talking, I said, does Danny have a duty to report that to the membership? I believe he does.
He does. Let's just say, is it a good thing or a bad thing, right? So I'm not in the know, so I can't tell you, but I would most certainly ask the people that are going to vote on the deal, ask them how they feel about it, because they're the final say-so. Like, you could think I'm going to negotiate the stars, the moon, and the heavens, right? And then they come back and say, "F you, we don't like any of that, what you did." So it's important to ask them what they think, and you shouldn't be afraid to, as a leader, to communicate that through surveys or however you want to do it, through your directors. Ask them, right? That is your lifeline of what you as an organization you need to pivot to and go. Like for me, when I would ask it at in-service, people are like, I take a straw vote, one or two guys, yeah, bring them in, no questions asked. And other people are like, F that. He goes, they need to go through the academy like I did and struggle. They need to wear the knee pads, they want to all together, right? And so most of the time it was negative. Like, okay, so when I get asked, there ain't no way. You put that in the contract, it'll be.
Is that the advice you'd give Danny if he asked? I know he's not going to ask.
Yeah, I would say most definitely.
I know what your membership is.
Yeah, you need to ask them what they, like, what is scenario? Like, pick a scenario 1, scenario 2, however you want to put it, A, B, C, and say, under these circumstances, would you accept them coming over? And then see what people feel about it, right? You might find a circumstance like, this is okay for me, right? They don't, but the others are pretty toxic, right? Because there's a rite of passage.
Sure.
That you have coming through. That's right. You damn well have to earn it. It's not a freebie. And that rite of passage means a lot to guys that went through, right? It's kind of like the Navy SEALs, right? If you wanted to be, you had to go through buzz and all that stuff. And it's like, I can't remember how many, it is like very rarely does anybody ever make it, right? Like maybe like 1 in 100 maybe make it. But it is so difficult to make. Imagine if they said, okay, we're going to, guys that didn't quite make it, but they're on this other little B team or whatever we kind of created, we're going to kind of sweep them in. I was like, you'd be like, oh, what the hell just happened, right? You're demeaning what the profession is and the actions that you're taking. And you need to be always at the top of your game, right? No matter what. We're not substandard. Like if you want to go do that, not to degrade another small county out in West Texas or whatever, but it's different, right? They don't have the training, they don't have the money, they don't have the assets, and they need any human body that can carry a gun and have a level head about it. They'll pick your cop now.
There's a lot of challenges, Mike. They just passed the largest budget in San Antonio's history, $4 billion. They cut back on things that this mayor wouldn't have cut back on: affordable housing, sidewalks, things like that, feel-good projects. They cut back on police officers. It's a contract. It's about to be a contract year. They backloaded this contract for this year. They got in April 2 and October 3. And they always backload those contracts, even some of them that you negotiated, because they're deferring the payments. But how do you get to the point where, you're going to have a competitive contract when the city's already screaming that they're in a deficit, we're short on people?
That's good. Those are all irrelevant, right? It takes 6. I need 6 votes. That's all I need on council, right? No matter what it is. Now you're in a deficit.
Who can you count up? 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's not enough, right? And you don't have to have the mayor all the time. It's great to have the mayor, but you got to have 6 no matter what, right? And if you don't have 6, well, then you're just treading water. You ain't doing nothing. You're wasting good money and bad. So my point is, our evergreen is designed in such a way that it's okay if you have to wait, basically you're punting for a better environment, right? Because the boom is coming, if you believe it or not. Let me back up just a little bit. Remember the anti-police rhetoric? I think the union caved a little bit because they were afraid of the police accountability and all that stuff. But they would have waited just a little bit, not such a rush to get a deal. The tide and the shift was already changing, right? It's not the same as it was back in 2020 or 2021. It's not even close to it. The community they're not rioting and doing all the crap that they were doing before. So the momentum on police positivity has shifted dramatically to the other side. That's always a positive for you when you're going to go back to the contracts, right? So that's a plus. So I don't have to give up any more on that accountability-wise or on whatever I have on my discipline stuff. Now I got to worry about money, benefits, bringing in more guys, okay? That's always a thing. Every single contract, there's a deficit, no matter what. So if the boom happens, like there's the United States is bringing in trillions and trillions of dollars, right? If all the planets align and things happen the way they're supposed to within the environment of the community, and there's a big surge in growth because the stock market is up massively. There's other things that are on the verge of exploding that could explode for this city as far as marketability, another car plant or whatever it is,
A lot
right?
of people investing big money here.
Yeah, they are. And as soon as the right things align, it's going to blow up. It's going to explode. So do you try to rush to get a deal in a crappy environment? I would say no. Now, I may not be there. Like if I'm Danny, I'm like, I'm leaving, right? My term is up, and I know I'm not going to be able to get a deal. But I would bring in people that want to move up and run it. And if I really want to put a team together, then do it, right? And then the idea might be, well, we just need to wait for a better environment for us. Gives us time to work on the mayor, gives us time to work on other people, gives us time to work on community issues that we think that we may need to improve on and kind of adjust. Look, a given backpacks and stuff like that is great. I think they're giving away, I think now it's shaving cream, shaver, and I don't know why they think that bathing kits, or I don't know, somehow somebody made a decision that was the right thing to do. I don't know if
What is that?
It's like a little kit that it has.
But who's giving what?
That's what SAPOA is giving away now to people that ask for it. They're like cleansing kits. I can't remember what the hell they call it, but I wouldn't have done that the way that. So how do you redirect what you want to get your goal, what your end is, right? So we need to be supporting our federal law enforcement guys, right? What are you doing right now to stand up and help the guys that are here and locally with ICE to know that we got their back? Say something publicly about it, right? Or say something, hey man, thank God no one of our guys got put a press release. We're sorry that happened. We hope that doesn't ever come here. Say something positive that thank God our guys are alive.
I haven't
Okay.
heard anything about them not being able to assist them, because the incident you talked about with McManus and the illegals,
Yeah.
he got spanked.
Oh yeah, you got spanked
And,
pretty
yeah,
hard.
he got
You don't even see him near
Right.
any illegals
So
that are captured now.
He got set in line on that one, but the city, you were talking, not to get too long-winded on this, but you were talking about the city, and luckily we had the association being able to negotiate with the contract and things, because if you left it up to just these people, and y'all mentioned, well, they're nice people, okay, that's fine, but they have no idea of how police, operations work. They really are blind completely. So it is good that we have the association, police officers, however tenured they are, whatever job assignments they had, to be able to say, no, that's not right because of this or whatever. But I think, in the sense, like we talk about Scully we still had a pretty good reputation, law enforcement across the nation anyway, and then in our own backyard, we had a pretty good reputation. So Scully was able to say, no, those guys are making way too much money.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh yeah, these people. Now I think we're in a position where, and I'm going to say it, and I've said it, I've not alluded to it, our city, because of their political affiliation, it was popular to not like the police, and it was popular to bash the police. So that's where we're sitting now, in a position of unpopularity. So obviously, if we were to say, and like I do believe the shift is it's coming slowly, but it's definitely not any help to our own association here. We're trying to bring up that that notice that, hey, we're still the good guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're sitting in a position, I think in a different position than where y'all were sitting with Scully, where we're unpopular, you know, and I don't like this. And not to say, because we talked about this earlier, and we keep on bashing Danny. Well, Danny is in the position of president. Not him personally, but it is the position of president of the SAPOA. He is not doing anything to bolster
inaction
that image.
Inaction should not be an option, right? You got to do something,
especially now.
So there was I used to have a thing in my office. I think it was Senator Hightower, Jim Hightower, that said, I don't know if he was a senator or a representative, but there's two things in the middle of the road. There's dead armadillos and yellow stripes, and but that meant something, right? It was an armadillo that was run over by a car, and they put two double stripes right over his dead body. If you're in the middle of the road, you're going to get run over. You got to pick a side. You got to be on the left side or the right side. I don't care what side you pick, but pick one. And it may be uncomfortable, but be thoughtful about what you're doing. But my moves were never for today. They were always a reaction for tomorrow and a week from now. And it's almost like a huge tanker. You got to turn it little by little, knowing you can't have an immediate reaction.
That is so pivotal, Mike, because I always say the city is thinking 15 years down the road, and we're thinking the next 60 months. And, you know, getting somebody new in that doesn't have any the acumen to really understand the job, even with a learning curve, having the right support system around them is only going to lead to more of the same. You know, I don't know what the solution is to that, but you have to levy the resources that are available to you to help you succeed and represent the men and women that are out there doing the job. I wanted to ask one more question. I already mentioned it to you. I want to ask both of you, as retirees, do we have a responsibility? Like, what's our responsibility to the rank and file and to the SAPOA? Should we be doing these conversations? Should we just do what most people do, just go hit a golf ball or swing a baseball bat in a batting cage? Or
I think he's asking me or Willie, so I'll go first. I think, yeah, you do. Now, they may not listen to you, like, whatever, Grandpa, like, you know, whatever, Pops. They're not going to listen to you, only for the mere fact that we knew what it was like to struggle, right, before, and the value of what we had, because we had an old guy telling us, you guys better fight tooth and nail for this because it has value, right? Because we had nothing before, and now we got something. And it's almost like you give your kid, a spoiled kid, like a race car. Probably 98% of the time he's going to probably wrap it around a tree, right? Because why? You bust your ass to give him that race car, and you don't know the value of it, but he just got it as a gift. He don't know. These guys all got a golden ticket, a gift that's bestowed upon them, and they don't understand the value yet. Hopefully they don't understand that value when it's ripped away from them. That would be nightmare. But it is important that look. It doesn't always have to be war. Like I was like the kind of guy you see me break glass in case of war, and I'm not that kind of guy. Every situation I was pushed into that situation. Like, I gave the city the opportunity to do the right thing every single time. I would call McManus, hey, are you guys going to do this? Just know that I'm going to come out against it. Okay, you got a choice: either acquiesce or we're gonna have an issue. Doesn't mean the conflict doesn't mean that we can't get along, right? There's still business of the job that goes on and goes forth, right? Now, do people take it personal? Some people do. You can't operate and function that way, because if you are, then you're in the wrong business, because it is business, right? You're in the business of defending the guys and the contract.
But you have to have the right personality to think that way. You know what I mean? You can't. It may upset you, but you can't wear it the whole time.
That's true, and it is difficult to keep it on a sleeve to say, okay, the next thing, and then go on to the next one. And it is. Like, I used to really care about what when I first started, like, man, I don't know why this guy just freaking hates me so much, man. I don't even know who he is, but I'm getting the daggers from his eyes at in-service. I'm like, I don't even know it's not me that did that, right? So, but then I had to teach myself, look at that, just let it go, man, because that guy, we don't know what's been told to him and his own biases, but there is hope, right? I took, even on a negative, I always looked at it as, how can I turn that into a positive? Like, you can flip it on its head And you can work it to make it work in your benefit. Even Danny today, he could do the same thing today. He could resurrect himself.
But Willie said he could be a start.
Yeah, he could. And look, quit worrying about my shadow, right? Because you're never going to beat the record. It was an anomaly that I was able to be there for as long as I have, consecutively, right? I hope somebody does break it, somebody that is, and my whole goal was, and ask anybody that's ever asked me, was I want the person who took over me to step on my shoulders and to put that bar up higher. And then the next guy's got to climb on his shoulders and put the bar up even higher.
You want everybody better than you.
Yes, that's the
And to grow.
expectation of what the rank and file demands, right? They need to have that growth, that upward growth.
Like, is it really? Is it that their expectations? Because they're still
I don't
idly
know.
buying
No,
SAPD.
so at some point, I think that people get angry enough, and then they're going to say, "I got to roll up my sleeves. I got to do it myself." Right? It just comes to that point. I mean, that's the way it's for me, right? I was
And
done.
why would they get angry enough? Because
They either got burned by the department, either they got disciplined severely, unnecessarily,
Or enough is just enough.
or they were transferred by something where they felt like, hey, I was in a good unit and I
We
didn't
have
know why
those
I got
small
burned.
battles going on right now in the PD. There's just not enough of them, you know. And
But it only takes one guy, right, to say, you know what, you just rise from the
Or a
ashes.
gal.
Like, do you want to be a phoenix, right? A gal or
Or
a girl,
a
it doesn't
woman,
matter.
yes.
To be that phoenix, to rise up. And trust me, when the membership sees hope, because that's what it's all about. You want hope over the horizon. Like, this person's going to give us hope. And they can go and they can ask for, like, Harold Flammia gave me the best advice ever. I'm giving it to Danny for free, although he didn't ask me, I'm going to give it to him today. Because the police union makes a lot of money. Don't pretend to be something that you're not. Go find somebody that's got the plaque on the wall that's the expert that knows how to do it. You go hire that dude and you bring him in and you tell him what you need and you get that guy and you ride that horse to where it needs to go. Don't pretend like you're something that you're not. That was the best advice besides looking behind you. I got that from Jerry Clancy. When you're marching downhill,
rest
when you're
his
at
soul.
war. Yeah. I said, but I took pieces of little bit of all these leaders, like even with Alex Pettis. Make sure when people call you call them back, whether or not you like them or not. Everybody deserves, they're a member, they deserve to have a phone call back. It just like bugs the hell out of me when I hear that people called and they never got a call back. I said, that's the minimum thing you can do. How many times did I call somebody and goes, man, shit, I'm shocked that you called me back, dude. He goes, I've been over here bad-mouthing the hell out of you. I didn't think you'd ever call me. I says, why wouldn't I call you? I said, you called me, what can I help you with? And you have to look forward. Quit looking back and dwelling in grievances and other problems and issues. Look forward. You cannot
cut
do
corners, right? They listen to someone else without fighting out for themselves, right? They're
Of course.
easily influenced by their peers.
Of course, but it comes to your core, who you are, what you bring to the table.
He's trying to reinvent the wheel. And I've always said this, and as a joke usually, but with the SAPD in the city, it's like if we were given the task of reinventing a better wheel, it wouldn't start out round. They wouldn't go with what works already and then expound on that. This is the same thing here. Hey, you've got a foundation, you know, and some of these people that built that foundation are still around. So use them, just like you're saying, go to those people, you know. Yeah, you sat in it. Yeah, you were representative, but now once you're in that mode.
Do you know what the most valuable asset of SAPOA is? What do you think it is?
I mean, I would think it'd be the people, but
Yeah.
I don't
The
know.
volunteers.
Okay.
Right. The volunteers are the most valuable piece of anything you can get as an organization. When people volunteer to cook for you, people volunteer to be at the polls for you, people volunteer to help out at the picnic or at the dance at a committee, those volunteers are the life and blood, the gold that you should always nurture and take care of those people that do those kind of things.
So that's one of the questions.
Oh.
You know, we solicited, put it on social media about, you know, if anybody has a question to hit me up on Messenger for you. And that was one of the questions. Was ask him how you were able to get so many officers involved with the union now that there's complete apathy. Sorry. Ask him how he was able to get so many officers involved with the union, and now that there is complete apathy. You would fill buses to go downtown to City Hall. They feel like the members have been alienated right now. So how were you able to get those volunteers?
So you have to be a ray of hope where there's despair. You have to be. Like, I genuinely hope that people, when there was a legitimate issue, like when we filled up those buses, it wasn't all Mike Helle. It was a team effort, right? We knew that Scully was going to petition council to take our health care. We had a contract, right? But it was during the issue of our Evergreen lawsuit. But in the meantime, disband our current health care and put us to civilian health care. Ivy Taylor could have gone along with that, but she didn't. We put the word out to the directors. I want that place packed.
And it was.
With policemen, right? This is your time to rally, right? And put out a positive message. Like, look, dude, these are the one things that no matter you hate me, like me, but we can all coalesce to, look, this is our contract, and this is a big piece that they're trying to chisel away from our cold dead hands, so to speak, right? So we did. We filled up the buses wherever you could be some of them were at the West Sub at the parking lot. Park your car here. We'll take you down. We'll feed you, give you water, whatever you need. Give you T-shirts. It was you know how proud I was at that moment? It was a sea of blue, man. And believe me, the manager was like, just shaking because they weren't expecting it, right? And the council, everybody took note.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's like, holy.
Because they're voters and their families are voters.
And they're like, these guys, we hit an item that the cops got their attention, right? And that's where the leader needs to be. I forgot about that. That was probably one of my better moments of that. So I was scared shitless. Thank God that the council said, no, we're not going to do that. I was like, because it would have been hell. But those are moments that
that's the best of us, man.
Yeah.
We've seen some of the worst of us, and that's why I've asked, what's our responsibility? Like, Willie, what's your take? Do you have one? I mean, we're doing this here together, but I mean, sometimes I wonder, like, what I have responsibility here?
Well, that's why I started the podcast. You know, as we've talked about, to get into other topics and discussions, it was mainly to discuss about the situations that are occurring within law enforcement. And granted, when I retired, things were not going so well, you know, and I would talk about the situations of the things. And I think we talk obviously commonsensibly about these issues. So, and I will say this, and I'll ask Mike after this, but you know, as you felt, it's very therapeutic to get these things off your chest, because you were free to talk about the things that you wanted to talk about when you were in. You know, as you and I've discussed before, we've talked to a lot of retirees that, yeah, they agree with you, but they just want to leave it behind. They want to go off and do this, but then they'll pop in every once in a while. They'll hit you up, right? We get that. Yeah, hey, I thought you didn't want to talk about this. You know what I mean?
Well, it's okay if you do the dirty work.
No, I know when they say, hey, you know what you should talk about?
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't you talk about
it? Right. Yeah. Well, I was like that in SWAT. I was the asshole. I would say everything that they wanted to say.
But
you know,
that's leadership, though, right? Because they gravitated you because
Fox said I was never a leader. So you know,
everybody's entitled to an opinion, but you know, they know the people that are going to speak out. Like, you know, a shift. You have leaders, right? And they ask you, hey, what are your opinion about this? Because they look at you, they stand up, it makes you feel better, right? That people are coming to you for questions and asking your opinion about things. Right, and that's good because they look up to you. And that's good that you have a voice today, because you are right. If you had a voice while you were on the department, you don't have a First Amendment right.
No.
You would have been
I've been on East Dog Watch as a UEDI.
Desperate need of inspirational leaders. I don't know where they are. Maybe they will rise up. Maybe some are there and I'm just oblivious to it. But they need people that can inspire others to get on those buses, to go down to a courtroom when an officer's been shot.
Yeah,
and you know, in supporting. And it gets easy to be the kid that got the sports car. But, you know, it doesn't take much to remember or talk to someone that we had nothing. And people got on buses and worked in neighborhoods and worked the polls to get in. Like, this is a treat for me, man. I do want to mention, you know, after that Proposition B, I wrote an article, not because I'm a good writer, I'm a terrible writer, but I wrote something, put it in the Centurion, I called it Reveille, and I was hoping to kind of inspire people to say, hey, man, we're this close from losing it. Mm-hmm. I don't think it moved the needle. You know, but I do think you moved the needle, and I'm always proud to have you as a classmate. And 36 years later, sitting with two guys that I went to the academy with.
Hey, well, Frank Davis scared the shit out of me. So.
Frank Davis still scares the shit out of me, man.
Him and Ben Lively.
He really does interact with me a lot on Facebook.
He's a solid man.
Yeah, he really does. And it's really, I mean, for me, he has to know, Frank, hopefully you listen to this. I still call him Sarge because he deserves the rank, you know. He told me one time, just call me Frank. I can't do that.
Remember he come into the classroom, we didn't know who was in the rip off the name tag, throw their name tag up there. Everybody move down. I'm like, who was that guy? So I don't know when he's gone.
Those guys, all those instructors. I mean, Danny Regola, of course, Hester, Lively. Those guys, they're a different breed, man, because they were making us what we weren't yet.
Well, a lot of those guys, you got to remember, were either part of the 74 group that got us where we're at, or got involved after that, right? So they understand the value of moving the needle, getting up further and further. You don't ever want to slide back. Sure. And trust me, there are opportunities in negatives. So Danny and his team have every opportunity, if they want it, to seek it to get those opportunities. It doesn't have to be through me. They can call other leaders and other people that need to do it, right? If he called me today, I would answer the phone and I'd talk to him. He and I might have to work out a few little things that got back to me, but after we get past that, then I'm okay, right? Because I just want to let everybody know where the position where I'm coming from. I'm only here to help you. I'm not there, so you can manage and do whatever you want to. I'm just giving you the information.
Yeah,
you do
can
whatever
ride
you
the
want
flow.
to.
You can ride the flow of the parade.
And I told David about this earlier, and I had it on my desk. The best advice I could give him is the most chiefly among us is subservient to all. It's deep, but you're not above anybody. You're just like everybody else. And you should manage yourself that way. You shouldn't, with amongst your peers, what you saw me, I was getting my hands dirty in the grease pits, or I was giving out beer at picnics. I wasn't the guy that wanted to be the peacock to have everybody. I know what's the president. I didn't have anybody to tell me I was the president, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid to get my damn hands dirty.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those programs, like cooking at Fiesta, I created that. Not me, but it was my idea and the team. We put it together. Right. And over time, we bought the equipment to do that because it was a wonderful treat that we could do for the rank and file.
Yeah, it was.
And I heard about the disruption over this past Fiesta. I was like, we didn't have that.
But I talked
we
about
didn't have that
DC
kind of.
wanted a bunch of brisket.
We didn't have. You know what? Cook them. Who cares?
Yeah.
Cook them for them. You know why? Because
Well, they did cook him for him, but then he went and talked about overtime the next day. So
look, you're being paid because you're on association time. You're not doing it for free, right? So you're being paid to do that. Now, is it double time? No, but you're doing it because you want to do something nice for your brother or sister that's out there. It's not for you to make money. Like, I don't know where that wire got tripped, where that was the mentality or the asset, but to put it bluntly, if I would have been there, you're all fired. Whoever said that, I'm sorry. Thank you for your service and your time. If Dean and I and Mike Dupree and the rest of the team had to get in there and start cooking it, then I'll work 24/7 to cook it to make it happen. And I guarantee you that I could get people like Marvin Cannon and other retarees that forged and did those things ahead of time. Marvin's still doing it today.
I would love to. Sure. Barbecue, man.
I would have put the call out. Hey, any retiree, God rest his soul, Abel Rodriguez, he passed away. That dude was always there. Right? It was just those volunteers that I said are so valuable to the assets, right? I don't have to pay you to do that. Just do it out of the kindness of goodwill. I'm paying you to be off to do it. No other job. Like other police unions, they don't have that ability, right? Those guys that are out there doing it for their troops, they're doing it for their love of the brother and sister only. Yeah. They're not doing it and getting money to be paid to do it. Yeah. That's just. But it's an erosion, right? You said it's if one thing slips, it's like Grubin standards. One thing slips, another thing slips, another thing slips. Before you know it, you just got chaos. You got to get it back.
And I like what you said, and I want to extend the same thing to Danny. I'm sure someone, if not him, will listen to this. This is about the action, the lack of action, the inaction that is going on, because we still care. We're just like those people you described that are still around. That's because we have this platform here. That's what we're talking about. Danny, if you called me and said, hey man, I need your help to get this word out, I'll do it. I know David will do it because we care about it's for the greater good. It's for the police officers. you still have time. There's a lot that we got to get done with this for the membership, and just for the profession in general with us. We're running short of time, Mike. I have one more question.
Okay.
That
I'll keep it short so you get it. How many more questions you got?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to have one more because we had more, but just in the interest of time, the question is, in hindsight, what, if anything, would you change about your approach to dealing with the PD administration, and what can we learn or change today to improve the quality of life for the SAPOA membership?
Actually a pretty deep question, right?
That's a very deep question.
So
That's exactly as they wrote it.
your you have to understand that my perspective and where I was from, the chief and I got along great in the very beginning. Even the very first conflict we had, I had the chief dead to rights. I mean, he was with two captains that he wanted to civilianize that were doing police work.
Story. Yeah.
Told him not to do it. He did it anyways. I had to go to the mayor. By Friday, they were fired. Right now, those guys are pissed off at me because they had their gig removed. But I had to defend the contract. It wasn't anything personally against anybody. Right? It was those jobs you can't civilianize them. Right. So I had to take action. And I told the chief, because look, he wanted to know what I was going to do. I said, look, chief, do the right thing. I'm not somebody that's going to dance on your grave. Right? So just do the right thing. From that point forward, we probably had 5-6 years, maybe less, of harmony. Now, things were going wrong. They were going bad. But we were fixing them and we were addressing them. Like this guy, he had no idea that was even going on behind the scenes. The people only remember me are the conflicts, right? About the no confidence vote, or the stuff about the illegal aliens that he let go. They don't have any concept of what was going on behind the scenes, because I didn't advertise that, right? I didn't think it was like, I didn't have to thump my chest that I got another guy. Now, I would have people call me or get upset because, why did you help that dude? He needed to be fired. And I would tell them, I said, look, that guy's a member, man. I didn't care if you were nasty to me. If you asked me for help, I just helped you. That's the way you need to be. Be like Lady Justice, blind. You just need to do your job. So to answer his question, maybe I should have advertised it somehow better to let people know behind the scenes, this is what's happening. But I didn't. I wasn't very good at cheerleading about our successes and the things that we did. I could have been better. But look, always give, this is his advice, always give somebody the opportunity to do the right thing. Ask anybody. Did I get asked first? 99% of the time they did, right? Only once in a while there's be that anomaly. But I gave them an opportunity to do the right thing. If they chose not to do it, well then don't be surprised when I take action, right? And a lot of it's just little contract disputes about what they can and can't do. Like this, like for instance, case in point, they're flexing hours now on one particular substation, and they're not at another. So somehow it's gotten to the situation that they say, well, if it's not written in the contract, that means that we can do it. Does that even make any kind of sense to you?
Well, even if it is written in the contract, like T-shift, and I know we can't talk about that now. Maybe we'll have to do a part A and a part B.
Yeah.
But it goes back to management rights. I'm telling you, emboldened people in his council, the people that are sitting right next to him, are giving him bad advice, and he's taking it, and he no longer believes he has to answer for his actions, and that's a whole nother thing.
Well, trust me, when I was there, nobody was afraid to tell me what their opinion was. Good or bad, right? Yeah. And but it's okay. I would listen, believe it or not, even the ones that I thought were harsh. And I'll tell you this is an epitome of what I had to deal with. The height of what we just did the advertisements for Scully on TV in November, right? We did it for a solid week. We nailed the hell out of her. And then it ran on every TV station as news, right? And they redid our commercial over and over and over again, right? It was the best PR we could have ever gotten, right? I had a guy in in-service tell me, well, what are you guys doing? Because I'm not seeing anything. I had the same reaction, so I could have jumped down that guy's throat, right? I was like, what do you mean we're not doing anything? We just spent $500,000 on TV on doing a commercial to put our position right. But we're only as good as the guy that's there in his world, right? Because if he only looks at one particular news thing and doesn't look at anything else outside of his world, or he gets his news at the breakfast table of his guys at work, we're always dealing with the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
And as a leader, you have to know that and understand that, right? And I just never took it personal. I just kind of like, can you believe that guy told me what the hell have we been doing? I said,
Get him a TV.
Yeah, so get that guy TV.
They get him a gun. No,
Yeah, they get that guy.
It's been a pleasure, man. I'm telling you. I'll just say this just because I asked them to put a picture on there. I was both y'all's captains on paper. I got a chance to give you both your 30th anniversary certificates, including my own. I have a picture of it. It was one of the highlights of my career.
I have your picture by my bed. That picture.
I know, Mike. That was a secret, but it really was.
Here you go. Get back to work.
Because I know how close we were to losing you guys at one point in the line of duty, and I've always appreciated that. So to be able to sit here and chop it up with you guys today and talk about things that are important means a lot to me. And the fact that you came on, I hope that maybe you'll consider doing it again, because there's lots of ground to cover. But I want to root for Danny, man. This is no joy in talking about
100%.
I want to root for Danny, but I want Danny to do what's expected of him, what's in his job description, and that means you have to stand up for the people. You have to be prepared for the fights, even if you don't want it.
Hey, almost losing your life can certainly change your mindset.
And Daddy almost lost his too.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't talk about that. In 2008, he was a part of that SWAT team, and he was shot. So he knows what we were doing the Bernal day. I was remiss in not saying that, Daddy. You've been there. You have been there.
Fractions of distance for that bullet going.
I was
further
Danny several times in the hospital. I was at that scene that day. And so, enough of that. It's a pleasure, man. It's so good to see you. I hope people are out there listening, not just for our sake, but I hope they listen to what you had to say, because when you talk about what's at stake here, I honestly believe 600 people out there or more have no idea what would happen to them if we lost collective bark.
Well, hopefully it generates some activity for you. I hope that, if you have to have a B session or whatever, come on 2 or 3 times, I don't care. If some guys email you again about, hey, can you bring it back? I want to know this question or that question. I don't have a problem answering anything cold. So I don't want anybody thinking, hey, we had to rehearse. No, it was cold. But it was a conversation. And I do genuinely, because it's in my best interest for Danny to do well, because I have a stake still in the police department. You have a stake still in the police department. And we want them to flourish. Yeah. We want them to flourish and be well. Like I used to joke, it's like, I don't want anybody moving back home with me because you destroyed it here, right? So keep it healthy and wealthy and do the right thing. And if you're back into a corner and you can't really think anymore and you just need to call somebody, not have to be me, call you, anybody, right? Get a different perspective.
Nobody call nobody.
Because, but look, if,
Still afraid of the captain.
don't be afraid to do that. There's a lot of people that are out there that want to see you prosper and to do well. It's not vindictive. It's from a place of love. I mean, what other policeman would tell you that look at, man, just we're all critiques about what we did, what we didn't do, right? When you're at a crime scene or when you did a shooting or what have you. But this is the same thing. You're getting critiqued, and you need to evaluate it, reassess, learn, apply, and then have a game plan going forward, because you don't want to negotiate from a position of weakness, because then you're just dancing in the wind. And if they're planning on doing away with shifts and doing it, they can do whatever they want to do, but they better make sure that the rank and file are okay with that. If you want to create all new shifts and do it, make sure the rank and file are okay with that. You have to set your goals from the people, right? Petition them, ask them, and then set the goal. And then once you see those goals, assess, and then that's what I'm going to bargain for at the table to get what they want. I don't think that you know what they want, or the team thinks they know what they want. Ask them. You might be surprised what they tell you. Just saying.
Mike, it's been a pleasure, man. And again, it's been a while since we've seen each other. You know, we had careers together. We worked closely with each other. Like you said, you commanded both of us. But hopefully, something else will pop up. We'll need to talk about. We'd love to have you on again to talk about those things. But appreciate it.
Yeah, no bars. Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
You bet.
Yeah.
This episode of the Blu Wolf Podcast is brought to you by Blue Line Professional Inspections. check out blproinspections.com or call 210-771-8831 for all your inspection needs. Blue Line is a first responder-owned business.